Hello, and welcome to Triggered Care. I'm Alex. So today's video, I want to talk about projecting myself and how that affects me, especially in interpersonal relationships, and what I'm working on right now in order to decrease the damage of that. So I'm going to just jump right into it. As always, there might be some triggering content. I don't know yet, but usually I say something triggering. So just a content warning if you're not in the space for it. So projecting myself. What do I mean by that? I mean, when I'm in a relationship with someone or a friendship or whatever it is, right? And if they do something to me that hurts me, I immediately try to empathize with them, like, well, what are they going through? Because for me, when I accidentally hurt someone in an emotional way, I am usually very overwhelmed. I'm very overstimulated. I'm in a flashback or a psychotic episode, and that's when my most hurtful words can come out of my mouth. So when somebody says something cruel to me, I imagine that state of mind with them, even though that might not necessarily be the case. And that's where my projection comes in, where I'm projecting like, oh, they must be really suffering right now because the times that I hurt people, I'm really suffering. And all that revolves around the golden rule of like, well, I'm going to treat people how I want to be treated, and I expect everyone else that I interact with to have that same moral viewpoint, which they don't necessarily. I'm not saying that everybody's cruel and anybody who's not like me is bad at all. I'm just saying that the way that I operate in the world very much has a huge impact on how I interact with people in my personal life. But this falls into a cycle. Somebody hurts me, I go, oh, they must be overwhelmed. I can forgive them without even talking to them about it. And then it will just continue. And for the longest time, I would blame myself for making them so overwhelmed that they have to say mean things to me. But that's not really what's happening. Most of the time, that's not what's happening. It's just they don't have the consideration, thought, or care to consider how that might hurt me. And I then take on all the responsibility and then I enable. So how do I break out of this, or how am I going to start trying to break out of this? Is I need to stop projecting myself and trust myself. If somebody hurts me, then my only option is to let them know that they hurt me and see how they respond to that. If they deny it, that's probably not a great relationship. If they change the subject, if they deflect, also not a great sign. But if they own up to it and are like, you know what, I didn't mean to say that to hurt you, and I'm sorry that it did, then that's a Blue's Clues that that is a healthy person, that person is on my same level where we want to treat each other with respect. And that's what I need in my relationships. And I'm slowly getting there. And it's really terrifying because I've had to cut out so many people in my life, not realizing that the social circles I was in was extremely toxic. And so, yeah, that's my thoughts on projecting myself and how I need to stop it. I thought this would be way longer, and it's not. I guess I could speak on this a little bit. I've been getting a few comments trying to diagnose me with sociopathy or whatever, right? And this is where that projection would come in, where I'm projecting myself onto the commenter, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they must be really concerned that I am a horrible person. And then that leads to me questioning myself. Like, do I know myself really? But I think it's important to remember that trauma reactions can appear as many different disorders. And also, with how much I've gone through in the last 6 months alone, I've definitely been in continuous psychotic episodes. I just have been. That's just the way that it's been. I'm on like 6 or 7 weeks of having off of work now, and I feel so much better because I have slept so much and I've cried so much. And there's been so much emotion coming out of me, but it is relieving that I have this opportunity to take a break and to just let my body go through these feelings. And it's not pleasant, but it needs to be let out. And so, yeah, I don't know. So I also don't delete those comments about whatever speculations on me. However, I would like to point out that it is impolite to diagnose people, just in general. It's impolite to be like, well, this person has this disorder and that person has that disorder. I can tell by the way that they talk, when you only get a small chunk of someone whenever you interact with them. You do not see their entire life. You do not see their most vulnerable times. You're only getting a small piece of them. And I think it's good to have boundaries with people that you can't get along with or who activate you to a point where it's not healthy for you, of course. But it's unnecessary to add personality disorders to that. That just adds to the stigma of mental health, and I'm not up for that. So I just want to say no hate to anybody who is diagnosed with sociopathy. We're all human. We are all humans, and I think that's important to remember. But anyway, yeah, that's my video, a real quick one about projection. I don't know what my future plans are in the slightest bit. I'm just trying to recharge my battery as much as I can so I can get back to being functional and doing stuff and enjoying life without all the flashbacks hitting me continuously. That's the goal. But thank you for everybody who's watching and subscribed. I hope all y'all have good ones.